Dax Sake is here, and we're here to talk about One Piece. First up, Dax, how you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic. As we talked about, I hurt my back a little bit, so I've been out of commission. But this is the first key piece of content that I'm back recording, so I'm excited I'm back here on the Psy channel, whichever one of Psy's channels this is.
Yeah,
But,
I like that.
I'm happy to be here, bro. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
You hurt your back, but you're back at it. Wow, the back puns, man. Oh yeah, the back is back. So, we've been in the King Herald flashback for a while now. So much so that I have started seeing comments of people saying, hey guys, let's stop the flashback now. Let's just get to the brass tacks. Let's get out of here. Maybe Oda should have done like 50-50 splits where we see Elbaf current day and the flashback. Some people are getting pretty sour about it. This happened pretty recently with the Ginny Kuma flashback. After like 2 chapters, people were like, hey, I get it. Kuma's having a sad life. And then this also happened during Wano, where it's like, oh, we're spending this many chapters with Odin. I feel like when we're in a flashback, it's really nice because we get a lot of lore, but it does get to a point where people start getting a little bit perturbed about it. Hey, let's just go back to current day, which I think is fair. That's an opinion at the end of the day, so it's whatever. And because of that, I do want to go back to Elbaf for a little bit. So in this video, we are banning not in the comment section. We're banning all talk of the King Herald Loki flashback, and we're just getting back to current day Elbaf. When we get back there, what are you excited to see? What are you expecting to see? And I guess we'll just start there.
Yeah, well, I feel like a ton to look forward to, because at this point, how long is Elbaf going to be? Because we're already 32 chapters in. And, we still have a little bit of this flashback to go. We have the Emu stuff to figure out. A lot of people think Yarouge, Enel, Shiki, Big Mom, characters like that can show up. So there's a lot to look forward to. So I understand why people kind of want to get, done with the flashback. Not that, Rocks and everyone hasn't been great. But what's funny about both this flashback and Egghead's flashback with Kuma is that Oda started them, in the midst of the climax of the most insane stuff we've seen in a long time, right? Because Saturn pulls up, reveals his form, we saw the pentagram circles for the first time, and then Oda's like, flashback time. And then once we come back to it, what happened? All the Gorosei pulled up, we got this big announcement, it was crazy, crazy stuff. So I think kind of the same thing's happening right now, where Emu pulled up, a step up from the Gorosei, and we get to see Emu's powers, and then Oda ducks over to a flashback, which really the point of the flashback was to exonerate Loki so that he can come fight alongside us against Emu and the Gods Knights. So, as soon as this ends, I think that's the most immediate thing we got to see. Loki's gonna, lose the other shackle. He's gonna show us what his devil fruit is. He's gonna go join us against Emu and the other Gods Knights and the Domi Reversi Giants and people like that. And now, how that all goes down, maybe we'll get into that throughout this video, because there's probably a million different ways it could happen, but I think that's really what this is building towards, is the second this flashback's over, Loki's getting freed and he's getting unleashed, literally.
Yeah, do you think Haruden will end up forgiving Loki after the flashback is over?
I don't know if it'll be an immediate forgiveness, where it's like, because Loki kind of talks some smack to Haruden over the years. It's a little, I feel like it's kind of deeper than just the Herald thing for those two. But I do think he will see the Herald situation in a different light. He might still have some issues with Loki because Loki made fun of him, beat him up, all that stuff when they were growing up. But I do think he's going to see him in a different light and maybe almost feel bad for him, because the reason Loki is the way he is because he didn't get, love from his mother and all that stuff, right? That's what it's that saying where a child will burn down the whole village to feel its warmth, right? Because if a kid's an outcast, it's like, they want what everyone else has, and they'll do whatever they need to do to get it. So yeah, I think he'll forgive him enough to free him. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, and it's funny because there is a chance that Haruden might not even believe Loki's story here. Because we came into this with Haruden saying, hey, Luffy, this guy's a liar, This guy spits black flames out of his mouth. You can't trust a single word he says. So it's for all we know, Haruden's just going to say, hey, I still don't believe you, but maybe we do need your help, though, which, yeah, I could definitely see being the middle ground, right? It's one of those things where it's if your brother's one of the few people that can save Elbaf from Emu, release the brother, right? Just let him go for a little bit and then worry about that later. Kind of like in Bleach. Spoiler alert. Well, not a spoiler. The anime caught up already, but It's like how they released Aizen to fight Yuhawaha, right? It's like, hey, like, you know, we don't like Aizen, but there's another villain here, so let's just release this bad guy to fight that bad guy. So that's pretty fair.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately I don't know enough about Bleach to really know if that makes sense, but I feel like I've heard people talking about that somewhat recently, or maybe whenever that came out. I don't know. But yeah, I feel like, you know, like Haruden's dream is to be king of the giants, and you're not going to be able to be king of the giants if there's like not many giants left, you know, or if Imu comes over and controls all of them. Like, you kind of need an Elbaf to rule over if you want to be the king. So I think from Haruden's perspective, you know, if he really wants to be the king of the giants, then a step towards that would be recognizing what's necessary to save them and do the right thing by Elbaf, which in this case will be freeing Loki, because, I mean, you know, the Straw Hats, especially like the top three, you know, they've gotten very, very strong. I'm sure they'll put on a good show. But I'm not entirely convinced that they're ready to go stop Imu and the Gods Knights and these Domi Reversi giants on their own. I think they're going to need Loki's help, who, like he said, he has experience fighting these people. So I think from Haruden's perspective, this is going to be a step for him towards, you know, putting his own issues to the side and recognizing what's best for the people. And so I think he is going to free him, but maybe begrudgingly.
Yeah, he might look at it and he say, my dad would do this. And then he just lets Loki go.
Yeah, that would actually be kind of cool.
Yeah, 100%. And what's funny, too, is that we don't need Loki, Luffy, and Haruden right away either, right? They can still take their time. They can chill for a little bit because we got some monsters going up there. We got Zoro and Sanji going up to the Sun Realm first. We hardly get this with those two. Just, you know, we don't get a lot of Zoro Sanji collabs, but whenever it does happen, I think the entire fan base just loves it. So I hope that when they go up there, they do run into Imu. We see the disparity of power, and then, of course, they go off to fight their own God Knights. But how do you think that's going to go down? Do you think they will run into Imu first, or do you think they will just immediately split up and just do their own thing? Because I could totally see Sanji going for Robin, for Nami, and then Zoro maybe going towards the library? I don't know.
That's a really good question, because, like, we still don't even really know the secret to beating the Gods Knights, which we know Conqueror's Haki's involved, but, like...
Yeah.
Is Zoro able to do it just because he has it, or is there, like, an extra technique he has to learn, you know? And for Sanji, like, he hasn't even been confirmed to have Conquerors yet, so I'm not really sure how, you know, like, how they would actually stop the Gods Knights, but I do think they're going to go right for them. Like, maybe Imu, I mean, it might just be a whole collective at that point. Like, Imu and the Gods Knights might just be near each other, so it's like, you know, a whole brawl. But I think this is going to be a little bit of the Wano raid situation, where, remember when Sanji... Well, first it was Marco, then it was Sanji who held off King and Queen until Zoro got healed up, and that gave us a cool, like, 2v2 for a while until it broke off into 1v1s. Because basically the point was, like, we gotta hold things down until Luffy's ready to go. It's kind of the point of that. And so I think it's the same thing here. But they aren't going to be able to really damage the Gods Knights. So I can imagine them, like, continually hitting the Gods Knights and, like, doing damage, quote unquote, but they just regenerate. And so maybe they kind of talk through, like, wait, what's happening here? Whatever. And that might still slow the Gods Knights down, because they do have to regenerate between each one. So it might just, you know, hold them off for a while, but they'll get really tired. But yeah, you know, because you also mentioned, you know, Sanji going for Robin or Nami. Like, I mean, there's a lot of people that need saving. Also, like, the kids. We can't forget the kids that are just, you know, on the top of the tree or whatever. So, I don't know. They're going to have their hands full, I guess, because it's just going to be, who else can really help them until Loki and Luffy get up there? Like, those are we already saw Jinbei get no-diffed, so I don't know.
Oh, I mean, don't forget, the new Giant Warrior pirates are going there.
Oh, so we got Goldberg's shield, Nash. Is he gonna?
Yeah, he could do something. Maybe Imu. They're gonna see Nash and say, "Whoa, Big Mom!"
Yeah, well, Sai, I know at least historically, I know you're a bit of a Giants hater, so I can imagine you're not you're not believing too much into the rest of the Giants helping out, are you?
No, I'm not. It's funny because I did come in here as like a giant racist, into Elbaf, into One Piece, etc. I'm an advocate for the human race. So whenever I see these freakish tribes in One Piece, which not just One Piece exclusive, most shows, I'm like, I don't know if they're like my favorite, right? Depending on how they look. And giants for me, ever since like Attack on Titan, and I'd say like even like Gundams or any mech shows, if a character's too big, then they're typically slow. Like their fights are just slow, a little bit boring. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of kaiju fights, so when I see giants, it brings out like a little bit of an ick out of me. I'm like, I don't know about that one. But I will say, Harold and Loki and Ripley and Gerd, they've done great PR for the giants in my mind, to where I don't hate them as much anymore. And same with Roto. I surprisingly really like Roto. So I do like the giants to a certain extent. I still don't care for most of them. Like, when I think about the new Giant Warrior Pirates, I'm excited to see what Road is going to do up there, right? Because Road is going with Zoro and Sanji, so I don't know, is Road going to fight a God Knight? And we joked about, like, what, Nash and Goldberg. I mean, they potentially could do something. I mean, they did help Zoro and Sanji fight that dinosaur for, like, 1 page. So, like, jokes aside, racism aside, like, maybe they could do something there, but it goes back to Conqueror's Haki. Like, the opponents we have, we're not fighting like fodder, right? Yes, there is like the nightmare monsters. I guess they could fight them, but they just endlessly regenerate until Killingham's defeated. So yeah, like they could fight the nightmares, but at the end of the day, like it doesn't matter because those nightmares don't die. Like at that point, we just need to fight Killingham, and they can't put him down. And when I think about Zoro and Sanji fighting the God Knights, I hope they stick as a 2v2. I hope Zoro doesn't get lost. Well, not 2v2, but I hope they stick as a duo. And they clash against the God Knights, because we have seen time and time again that no one pushes them harder and makes them grow faster than each other.
Exactly.
Whenever Sanji says, "Hey Zoro, you meathead, you're not doing this right," Zoro gets stronger. Whenever Zoro makes fun of Sanji, Sanji gets stronger. It's like this weird like Zenkai boost that they have going on. Like back on Egghead, right? Zoro is getting stalled by Rob Lucci for like 5,000 chapters. It's like a fight as old as time at that point. Sanji comes in. He says, "Oh, that Mosshead's still fighting the leopard?" And then Zoro hears that from Jinbei's Den Den Mushi. And then guess what? Zoro pulls out the Havana Hunt, defeats Rob Lucci, and then they move on. That's all it takes for these guys to just go all out. So the minute they start teasing each other about Conqueror's Haki, like if Zoro says, "Hey Sanji, you don't have it, do you?" I could see a panel, like a gag even, where Sanji just gets it right there. He's like, "Who says I don't have it, huh?" Like, that's just how it works, man.
No, I could totally see that, too. I actually think that is one of the most likely ways that Sanji uses it for the first time, is Zoro's, like, baiting him into it, right? It's like... Yeah. Because you look back at, like, Return to Saba Odi, and the entire time Zoro's making fun of Sanji for being, like, I forget which place, but Zoro got there before him, basically, and so he made fun of him, and, like, that's just the whole trope throughout the whole story, is, like, anytime they one-up each other, like, with bounties also... And so I feel like that'd be the perfect time. But going back to, Scopper's discussion with Sanji, remember how Sanji had, like, that expression where, like, we don't really know what Scopper told Sanji, right? About, like, whether he has conquerors or not. Because Sanji's expression was kind of just, like, shocked, but he never really commented on it, so we don't know really what that meant. And so I feel like if the answer was just straight up, "No, you do not have Conqueror's Haki," then I think Sanji would have been kind of sad, right? He would have lamented over it in some way. He wouldn't just be shocked and then moved on to the next thing. He would have definitely, had a moment with it. So I feel like, no matter what he said, it's enough for me to think that, Conqueror's Haki is definitely an option. So I would like that too. And, going back to the Giant Warrior Pirates, I kind of wouldn't be surprised if they also had Conqueror's Haki, because that might be like a Giants thing, where like a lot of them have it or know how to do it, because they're all trained to be warriors. They're, stronger than most people as it is. So they have, like, you could say they have a conqueror spirit, quote unquote, just because most times they walk into a room, they're the biggest person there and they could conquer it easily if they wanted to. You know what I mean? So I feel like that could end up potentially being an option. But I don't know. I mean, that'd be a lot of Conqueror's Haki, but if the crew's gonna learn it at some point, you would kind of think that, well, maybe Elbaf specializes in it, or a lot of them know the tricks to it so that somebody can teach them. So I don't know if this is gonna be the Conqueror's Haki arc. I feel like we're about to see a lot of people unlock it.
if we see Roto and Goldberg, Stanson and Garrett whip out Haki before Dory and Brogy, that'd be crazy. That would be nuts. Which, you know, people say that the Hakaku sovereignty is condensed, conquers Haki or Ryuo, which I like that theory. That's what I thought initially, but I went over to do some research on Dory and Brogy for a different video, and never confirmed to have any Haki whatsoever. No observation, no armament, not in a Vivre card, never stated. So, you know, we could say that the new Giant Warrior Pirates would be eclipsing the old Giant Warrior Pirates at that point. Which would be kind of funny.
I feel like they will.
Or they will. 100%. No way.
I could be wrong, but I want to say during Egghead, during one of the fighting panels, there was Haki. I'll have to go back and look, but I think they will have it. Like the Koku sovereignty, you know, going back to like Big Mom and Kaido, who did Ikoku sovereignty, I believe, right? But it was the same thing. Like that was definitely Haki, you know, because we obviously know both of them can use all the types of Haki. So I feel like that will get revealed for sure, but I don't know. Like you said, it hasn't been said that certain attack was Haki. Come here, buddy. I'm gonna shut the door.
Oh no, you're good.
So yeah, so I don't know. I feel like most of them are gonna have Conqueror's Haki, but it's weird that Oda hasn't, you know, really dove into that too much yet.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, like, we kind of just assume they have it. Like, it would be ridiculous if we have, like, you know, one of the OG giants in Elbaf, you know, they've been around for all these years, and they just don't have any Haki whatsoever. So I think it's definitely going to get, like, touched on or, you know, revealed later in an SBS or a Vivre card. But now, I do want to move on to something really interesting. You brought this up on a side discussion before we started recording, and I thought it was crazy, because I never realized this, but back in, like, chapter 823, so for Dax, he's eventually going to be doing a cover page breakdown video on his channel. Make sure to check it out later whenever it gets posted. But he said, hey, Sai, did you know that Hercules, the guy who trained Usopp during his time skip journey, did you know that he did not go back home, and we never realized where he ended up going? And it's like, wait, what? What do you mean? So yes, Herculesan, I think that's how they pronounce it in the anime. He just didn't go back to the Boeing archipelago. He is still MIA. Like imagine how absurd that is, right? Like, for example, Sengoku and Sudo. We saw them back on Egghead. They said, hey, Cross Guild is going rampant. Garp is going to Hachinosu. They wanted to go somewhere. They hopped in a boat. We don't know where they're going, but I'd like to imagine we'd realize where they're going within 100 chapters, give or take, right? I feel like we're going to learn where they're going in like 100 chapters or less. Hercules, we don't know. It's been 300 chapters. This guy's a mystery. God forbid we were doing YouTube videos back then, because every week we'd be like, hey, Dax, Hercules, where's it going? Is it coming here to dress Rosa? Like, that is how absurd this is. So you brought up the theory, and I agree. But if he had to go anywhere important, I could definitely see him coming to Elbaf, which sounds weird. But in that cover page, he was riding this giant beetle. And that giant beetle, if you remember, is reminiscent of what we saw back during the Strong World filler episodes. So before some movies, Oda will drop like a filler episode. For Strong World, we had Luffy versus Largo. One of my favorite fights in One Piece, believe it or not. It was super silly. Largo had like the crazy sombrero. He had the net no mi. He also had like a brother that just was fat, I think. The brother didn't have any powers. Largo did all the carrying.
Yeah. It's like Caribou and Korobu, I guess. Yeah.
It was like the Little East Blue Saga is what it was called. And in that little promo, we had this giant beetle named Boss. And that was one of Shiki's, top creations that escaped his lab. And I'm not going to get into like the whole details of the filler. You can go watch it for yourself. It's great. It's like 2 episodes. But essentially, because that is the beetle that Hercules is apparently riding here, like a spin-off of Boss, maybe he's coming here to Elbaf, because here in Elbaf, we've seen a lot of Strong World animals already, and Oda has confirmed that via SBS too. So I think the chances of Herculesan coming here to Elbaf and maybe helping Usopp or giving Usopp a pep talk for his arc, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, well, first off, I thought it was hilarious when you said thank God, this didn't happen. Like, we weren't making content or whatever whenever this was released, because every week we'd be like, when's he showing up? When's he showing up? So it's honestly like a blessing that we just found it, because now we're probably at the right answer, which is Elbaf. Like, if we were an Egghead, we'd be like, oh, is Heracles coming? Or if we were in Wano, like, is Heracles coming? But luckily we found it now, because I do think Elbaf's the answer for pretty much all the reasons you said. And, there was that SBS recently, I can't remember if it was the most recent one, but one of the last two, I think. They talked about, or Oda talked about how the animals in Elbaf are, like, they look the exact same as the ones from Strong World. And now, like, are they, related, or is it just Oda copying designs? Like, who knows? But regardless, it builds a connection between kind of Strong World and Elbaf a little bit. And so for this giant beetle thing, this is like literally what you would see, among the creatures in Merville or Merview, whatever translation is correct. So I think he's definitely showing up, and it's really important, I think, too, because yes, there's the Usopp connection because like they're, like he trained Usopp. But it goes deeper because they're also both botanists, and the other important botanist that we've seen in One Piece is Noland. And this is a very important through line between all three of them because Usopp connects to both Heracles and Noland. And so basically, a lot of people have said, including myself, that Noland should definitely be involved in Elbaf because he was involved in Skypiea. There's a lot of Skypiea-related themes going on in Elbaf already. And then we know that he was tied to the Tentata, which are like the dwarves, the smallest race that we've met. And Usopp also befriended them and even lied about being related to Noland. So that means that Noland probably has a connection to Elbaf as well. And with the Adam Tree being in Elbaf, like one of the most important trees in the story, I feel like there's definitely a story there with like the botanists of One Piece. Like, I don't know if Heracles is going to come and drop some important lore about the Adam Tree, because he's been doing research for all these like 20 plus years. He set sail, I think it was 28 years ago, sailed for 3 years and got to the Bowen Archipelago, and then he lost his crew a year later but promised to continue the research. And so part of me wonders if he's like been on Elbaf researching, and so we're just going to see him soon and he's going to have some important discoveries about the Adam Tree. People have talked about how time dilation might be a thing in Elbaf, and the Adam Tree could be a cause of that. Maybe he's going to figure that out. Maybe like Noland, he's going to figure out the tree is making people sick or something, and where the tree has to, get saved or cut down or something. So I don't know. I think there's definitely an important through line with the botany angle, but I don't know what it's going to be. Like, it's hard for me to imagine Heracles being like a massive part of the arc, but I don't know, man. Where else would he show up to? Like, I can't think of anywhere. So I don't know.
Yeah. And, if Usopp does get into a fight, maybe this is how he gets his power per buff. Kind of like how back during Wano, right? Zoro was fighting King, and then he had this, like, crazy small flashback about the Shimotsuki guy back in his village, telling him about cursed blades, and Zoro just got back up and he got a little bit stronger. This happened in, like, Alabasta, too, where Zoro's fighting Mr. One, and then, I remember my mentor, he told me how to cut nothing. It could be like that, where Usopp is down for the count, and then he maybe thinks he's hearing his master's voice in his final moments, but it's actually just Heracles in the back, like, Usopp, don't forget! And he's like, oh man, like, I could hear my master right now, I don't know where he's at. And then,
that would actually be awesome.
That's
That'd
where he gets the Usopp
funny.
upgrade. It would be really funny. No, it'd be hilarious.
Yeah. It could almost be like Usopp and Luffy at Water 7, or I'm sorry, Enies Lobby, when, remember like when Luffy like couldn't get up from fighting Lucci, and Usopp like took off the Sogeking mask and was like, you got to get up right now, or like then he started threatening Lucci, because then Luffy's like, okay, now I got to get up because my friend's about to, get murked by this leopard guy. So I would actually really like that if it's almost reversed a little bit, where he's hyping Usopp up. Heracles is. Honestly, if Luffy did it, that'd be great too, but Heracles might fit a little bit better. As far as like, helping Usopp get a power up of some kind. So, huge fan of that.
Oh
huge.
Yeah, great theory. And another thing too is that with how important insects are in the final saga, which sounds kind of random, but Luffy's always had this fixation on beetles for the longest time. I think back to one panel back during Jaya, where Chopper asked Luffy, would he rather find, it was like some rare beetle or the One Piece
Atlas beetle, I think.
Yeah, and then Luffy, like, he didn't give us an answer. That's how crazy it was. Like, Luffy loves beetles to an absurd amount. So if he were to see this beetle man, it's like, yeah, like maybe Luffy would freak out a little bit. And then of course we have the whole thing where the Gorosei and Emu, they refer to humanity as insects. And then here we have this guy dressed as a giant insect. It's like he could genuinely bring us good lore, which sounds ridiculous, but I think the lore with this guy could be insane. We still don't know what he's like underneath the mask. So yeah, I think Hercules in a really odd way could give us a lot.
And actually another interesting thing is so he's from the South Blue, and in this recent video I did on Eustace Kid, I talked a lot about the South Blue.
Yeah.
Because Kid's from the South Blue, but also so is Frankie. And you know who else is from the South Blue? Jaguar D. Saul. You know who else is from the South Blue? Haruden's mother, Ida. All these people are from the South Blue, and I would argue they're all very relevant to this arc, because Kid, I mean, well, we got to figure out what his role is, but he's here in Elbaf for a reason. Whatever that reason that is, Oda put him here for, you know, some purpose. But then we also learned that there's this island of giants in the South Blue that aren't Elbaf giants, and they actually look down on Elbaf giants. And we don't know that Saul is from the same island as Ida yet, but both of them talked about how Elbaf giants are like savages. So I have been thinking since the second I read that page that Saul and Ida have to be from the same exact place. And so part of my like whole theory on it, we don't have to get into the weeds of it, but I feel like that might be like a Gale Ra connected island in some way. Because also like Saul has the Will of D, which is like, I feel like that's not talked about enough. How like that's, you know, there's a race of giants somewhere who is part of the D clan, and they're in the South Blue. Like it's just, there's a story there, I feel like. But Heracles is also from the South Blue. And so I wonder if there's a whole connection between all these characters for like, you know, like in Whole Cake, the North Blue was a big deal because of Germa and Sanji, and even in Wano a little bit, we had Drake and Law there, and Law was given some extra context on the Sora Warrior of the Sea comics and all that stuff. So there's a lot of like North Blue-centric lore between those arcs. Well, I think we're about to get the same thing for the South Blue, and a little bit of the West Blue because of God Valley. And like, obviously we know plenty about the East Blue already, so it feels like the South Blue and the West Blue are the ones that have to get honed in on, so South Blue with Heracles and the Giants and all them, and then West Blue with God Valley and Brook. I think that's kind of where Oda's going. So I don't know if Heracles would have like visited that island. Maybe Heracles is already friends with Saul, and that's where this is going. That, and maybe Ida. Well, Ida would have already left, so they wouldn't have met. But Saul potentially, because he didn't, quit the Marines till what, 22 years ago, and that was after Heracles already left the South Blue. So I don't know.
Dude, if Heracles ties everybody in, that'd be so beautiful. I mean, hell, thinking about what Nami's old men, the one from her post-time skip training, like, they're important again now, too, because of, Vegapunk? Vegapunk called them up and said,
yes.
Hey, like, we need to talk, guys. I mean, when you think about everybody's post-time skip island, like, they're all making moves in the final saga, right? Except for Chopper's indigenous people. I don't know what to call them. I forgot the name of them.
The Torino Kingdom is the island.
Yeah.
But I don't know what they're called, though.
They're the only ones who are not making a move, right?
Right. To our knowledge, but I wouldn't be shocked if they are. You know, because they have those giant birds. So, like, they can get around easy. And also, I just sent you another cover page. It's actually the one after the Heracles one. And basically, Nami dripped out all the old guys from her time skip. And so, going with the Heracles thing, I feel like this is a little bit of foreshadow that they're going to be relevant again because they basically changed their outfits because of Nami, because Nami's like a fashionista kind of girl. Like, there's the one heroine novel where she basically makes her own like fashion line or something. I can't remember the exact details, but she ties to fashion in that story. So this is kind of cool where they all are dripped out, and they even say for when Nami visits again. And so I'm like, okay, now that Weatheria is relevant again, we're also waiting for the reveal of the ancient weapon Uranus, which everyone has said is going to be related to weather somehow. And these are the weather guys. And also, Haradas is from Burka, which is the island that Enel is from that he destroyed. And this is also the island that everyone believes Uruj is from because of the way his wings are shaped, which don't fit the other two sky races. So I think there's a Burka story coming soon that's going to intertwine even Nami's time skip guys. So this might honestly be like Oda intertwining all the time skip stories into Elbaf somehow as like a, I don't know if I want to call it like a final send-off, like they're coming to help one final time, and because I don't think they're all going to die or anything, but this might be like their last chance to teach something to the crew. Because like even Scopper's here, who obviously Luffy learned from Rayleigh, but Scopper could be a good stand-in to teach him an additional something. I don't know if like the Okama are going to show up for Sanji, and you know I doubt. I don't know if Mihawk's going to show up for Zoro, but I think Oda's definitely building towards this time skip connection in Elbaf somehow for sure.
Oh yeah, 100%. I love this. I love that you made them relevant again. That is beautiful. Also, Nami being a fashionista. So, I'm sure you've seen the theories. I'm sure we've even talked about it before. Do you think Nami has a special lineage? Which I know people probably just groaned in the comments section, right? You know, another character, huh? With special lineage, Nepo piece is real. I get it, right? But Oda's always had a special spot reserved for Nami. Go back to all the One Piece prototypes. He's always had some iteration of Nami there. And same with Shanks, right? Same with Shanks. And Shanks, here we have it. Shanks turned out to be a celestial dragon in the end. And I wouldn't be shocked if Nami has either celestial dragon ties or she's just a princess from like a forgotten kingdom. You know, because Nami's backstory right now is so like broad, right? It's so empty, it's so vague. She was found in a kingdom by Nojiko, and then Belmare saved both of them. Like, Nami could literally be anything, right? People even speculated, like, oh, maybe that was a former God Valley incident, and, you know, Belmare was there, and she just saved these kids from that incident. Like, that could be true. Personally, I'm leaning towards the Celestial Dragon route. I think she could be from Gunko's family line, which I know sounds absurd at first. You know, obviously she's not going to be as old as Gunko, but I think there is a chance she could be from the Man-Mayers. The main reason why is because in One Piece Live Action Season 2, on the set, we actually see a clothing district or a clothing store called the Man-Meyer, which of course is named after the Celestial Dragon family. And that is before we learned about them being connected to Gunko even. So Oda's always been propping up the Man-Meyers as like this important family ever since God Valley, ever since the OPLA Season 2. And it's like, yeah, maybe like the fashionista thing is the connection. Like Nami has the fashion in her genes, so to speak. She's always been greedy like a Celestial Dragon too, right? She's always all about money.
Can you send me that panel of the Man-Meyer store? That's really interesting. That's a crazy connection. So the first thing that I think of that might connect to that is, you know, Nami was taken from Oikot Kingdom, which is Tokyo backwards. So I feel like there's an important story there of some kind. But also the simple fact that Belmare and the Marines were there, like helping to fight against those pirates, tells us that that was a government-affiliated country. Because otherwise the Marines wouldn't be sent there to help. They would just let them get kind of ransacked. And so, so basically, I wonder if, like, Nami's country, maybe she's related to the Celestials, but at a bare minimum, she could be related to, like, a King Bakori type person. Because he was, like, a puppet, you know, leader for Sorbet Kingdom. Like, he was basically a Celestial Dragon, like, not really, like, he didn't get all the perks, but he acted like one and was definitely, like, their stooge, like, he was going to do their bidding and whatever. So I could almost see Nami being from a family like that, where she was, like, if she didn't get saved by Belmare and given more, like, humble beginnings, she may have ended up like a Celestial Dragon, because, like you said, she loves money already, so there's, like, that, you know, kind of theme to it. And also, you go back to Arlong Park, and also, like, the way that she was, like, building up money, like a big part of that arc is kind of like Arlong was doing to the people what the government or what the Celestial Dragons do to everybody else, which is collecting a celestial tribute, right? Because Arlong's like, give me money if you want to live here or whatever. It's the same thing the government does. So I feel like Oda's going to build some kind of story with that, with Nami, like, even further in Nami's past, like, maybe, like, the reason why she loves money could tie to, I don't know, maybe her family was collecting tributes or something, you know, before everything fell apart. But I really like that. I just saw the picture you sent also with the Man-Meyer. So that's just in live action. That's not in... I mean, it still matters.
Yeah, that is in the live action. That is in season 2. It's gonna be in Logtown specifically.
And that's interesting because in Logtown, when Nami and the crew were there, didn't Nami go and like buy a bunch of clothes?
Yes.
Wasn't that what? So that's probably what that is. So that might be some cool foreshadowing, honestly. That's a really good catch.
Yeah,
So,
and I doubt that the live action would add something in there like that without Oda's permission, especially when Oda's working like hand in hand with the live action too. So I'd say that's a very canon Easter egg, which is a weird way to put it.
Yeah, no, for sure, because that's like the kind of thing where, like when Oda was in Logtown in the manga, he may not have even had these Gods Knights families figured out. You know, he maybe he decided to expand the number of families later. So like his plans always, you know, can change later on. So it's like basically if he was redoing the story now, he might put the Man-Meyer story in the manga, but he wasn't thinking of it back then. So now he's doing this as an excuse to, you know, do it now. So that's actually a really cool catch. I like that. I like that idea. Now, I don't know if it would be the Man-Meyer family specifically, like, because if they're celestial dragons, then like the leader of Oikot wouldn't have been one of them because they would have been in the Holy Land. But like I said with King Bakori, it could be like they picked a stooge to do it, and that's Nami's parents. You know, just some dweebs that were doing work for the celestial dragons, I guess. But going back to your original question about whether Nami has a special lineage, regardless of the celestial dragon stuff, I do think, you know, while Nepo Peace has been in full force lately, and I know that people are getting a little bit tired of it because it feels like everyone has special lineage, I feel like Nami, of all people, is the one that should have a special lineage because she has this weird weather power stuff, right? Like she can detect weather before it happens and feel like the pressure gradients and whatever's going on. And that's like really, really special. It's like an innate ability. So it feels like a Uranus thing kind of, but she can't control the weather. She can just like detect it. So, so I do think there's probably like a Birkin layer to it because she also went to Weatheria and learned from a Birkin being Haradas. So I think there could be a story there where she's like connected to an important Birkin of the past, maybe Uranus. Because the other thing that's really weird about Nami is, remember how whenever she was talking to Poseidon, Shirahoshi, but Poseidon also works. And she had this line about like it feels like we already know each other or something to that effect. I can't remember the exact dialogue, but there's something special between Nami and Shirahoshi, it feels like. And so people have pointed towards that, maybe meaning that Nami was like a fishman in the past, or she's related to the first Poseidon or something. And I feel like it might be more so of a story where Nami's related to like the OG Uranus, or like somebody who built Uranus, or whatever it is. And so now it's just like Uranus and Poseidon are kind of friends. Not that Nami is that, but I think that's sort of the story that they're building, is like these are both ancient weapon connected individuals, so they are like friendly with one another because the ancient weapons are supposed to work together. So I guess I feel like Birkin's the most likely, basically.
And another thing with Nami too is, you know, going back to Zoe, shoutouts to Sawyer7 Mage, far gone YouTuber now. He's retired.
Major shout out.
Major shouts to him. But I remember back during Zoe, I was watching his reviews. Can't forget that Wanda gave Nami Zoe's national treasure, which ended up just being a woman's dress. I think that's a meme at first. You know, at first when I saw this, like whatever, throwaway line. But now it's like, okay, like what if there is some truth to that? What if that dress really is a national treasure? And that's like a hint that Nami, you know, comes from like royal lineage, right? Getting that national treasure. And another thing too, you know, going back to what I mentioned earlier, like, oh, like Nami, she's always had like special lineage via like the One Piece prototypes. So I'm looking at one of Oda's OG stories here. It's called Tale of a Dragon and a Boy. Which is, you know, you got like prototype Luffy. His name was Land at the time. We also had the Knight Leader Shanks, which of course we later find out that Shanks is a celestial dragon, and his brother is, you know, obviously the Knight Leader. His dad's also the supreme commander of the Knights. And for Nami, Nami's spin-off version in this is Princess Kurino. Yeah, I do think that Nami will be some sort of special lineage. I think she will have like this princess vibe going to her come the final saga. I think it's always kind of been like left open for this reason specifically.
Yeah, for sure. And going back to the Oikot thing, I feel like maybe like her mom or because she probably has
Yeah.
like one bad parent and one good parent. It's probably like a Sanji thing or something. And I feel like kind of like in Wano how I can't remember the exact details, but didn't Toki like somehow Toki gave Hiyori to Kawamatsu, who then like swam through the river and left there. But basically, it ended up being to where, like, if you would have went and found her, you wouldn't know that she was a princess right away. Like, it's just like a lost girl. Like, this is a story that, or this is a trope that Oda's done before, where these prince or princesses will get sent out to like be saved, right? Like, well, we don't want you to fall along with the country. So like, Momo got sent into the future. Hiyori got sent through the river with Kawamatsu and stuff. And then they kind of live their lives without people knowing that they're the princes or princesses, and then it gets revealed in a big moment, and then we're like, oh, damn, that's crazy. So I think Nami's gonna have the same thing, but probably like the craziest edition of that, where, like I said, like pirates came and attacked Oikot. There's probably a really important story there with like why they were attacking, and then they, I don't know if they just threw Nami out the window or what, but they just got rid of her and like just, if they know that she's a princess, they're gonna keep coming after her. So we just gotta get rid of her and hope she finds like a new family, and so nobody is none the wiser about who she really is. But then it's going to come back in some way. But the thing is like, what is that story? Like, who attacked the island? Do they know that Nami's special? How is that going to get revealed? Like, who is aware of that? Because Nami doesn't even know. That's like, she was too young. So I don't know, like I did a video about Vasco Shot potentially doing it, or it could be Shiki potentially who had a hand in it, because Shiki also tried taking Nami during Strong World. So yeah, I don't know how that's all going to pan out, but I'm definitely on the Nami princess train for sure.
Yeah, it's a good train to be a part of, man. So I'm curious now, but Emu-Gunko, will we defeat them on this island? I held a poll on this a while back, and in the poll, a majority believe that we will sever that connection. Is that where you're at as well?
Yeah, I think Brook is the easy go-to answer there, because like, and this actually ties to, I think I told you before the stream, I had like this idea that I sent in the Discord, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go copy and paste this so I can mention it. I think the first thing that's gonna happen is Luffy's gonna go try to box with Emu and get like no diffed. That's my first take, is that Emu's gonna just kick Luffy's ass. And Gear 5 is not going to save him. He's going to have to, because we learned that Conqueror's Haki is really important to beating the regeneration. And I feel like that's probably a layer to beating Emu as well. So, like, it's not just advanced Conquerors, it's super advanced Conquerors. I don't know what you want to call it. But there's something else Luffy has to learn. So I think they're going to box for like a chapter, and Emu's just going to absolutely kick Luffy's ass. And then also, at the same time, like we talked about earlier, I think like Zoro and Sanji, or maybe Loki, because Loki should be freed at this point, will come and help with the Gods Knights. But I think after Luffy loses, like right before he dies, I think Brook is somehow gonna like awaken Gunko from within, right? Because that seems to be the reason that Emu took over Gunko when they did, because Gunko was having these memories, and then Emu jumped in. And it's kind of like, I'm not letting you, join the other side. Like, I'm not letting you kind of reawaken and kind of create a Sindri situation. If you remember from Thriller Bark, when Sindri, like, kind of stopped listening to Hogback, and it caused them a lot of problems. And then Hogback got, like, crushed by a bunch of boulders like and rubble. Stuff like that. Yeah, so I think it's going to be kind of the same thing where Brook, I don't know if it's going to be a song. I don't know if Brook is going to... Actually, I think this is the most likely. I think Brook's going to start recollecting all the memories, and he's going to be like, you are that girl, aren't you? And so I think he's going to come out and be like, Gunko, what happened to you? I remember 70-something years ago when we would pal around and do this and this, and now you're here. Like, how are you here? What happened? Like, you must have gone through a lot. Like, I'm so worried about you. And then I think she's going to kind of break through, and Emu's going to get sent back because of that, because Emu will just lose control. So it's not that we defeat Emu, but we sneak past it a little bit. All thanks to this skeleton guy who came back to life, which would just be like a cool story, because I think part of the idea with Gunko is that Emu wants to pick people like that to where nobody remembers them, so that this can't happen. Because because Gunko was like a servant way back in the past. I wonder if Gunko like steals these princesses, makes them servants for a really long time until Imu knows that everybody who knew them is dead, and then they like promote them to a God's Knight or whatever other position, because then they can't get reached, right? Like nobody's gonna know them well enough to like make the connection. But that's what's cool about Brook, is he like died and came back to life. So maybe Imu's just like, numbers were wrong, I guess. So yeah, I think that's the most immediate thing, is Brook is gonna have to step in, because there's no way Luffy beats Imu, right? Like there's no way that this early Luffy can go and actually box with Imu and make some headway. Like maybe he's gonna learn a little bit about what the tricks are, but I can't see a world where Luffy actually stands up to Imu and, puts some work in. It's got to be, we realize how big of a threat Imu is, and we luck out by Brook stepping in. I think that's got to be it.
No, I'm on the same boat. I could definitely see Brook playing a jingle, and that just reawakens Gunko. Like,
yes.
This is your favorite song, isn't it? And then Gunko just comes back to life, or she regains control of her body.
Yeah. Like he plays it. It's like, remember when we used to play this at like this place with this person? Like he starts listing like specific things to like trigger the memories to come back. Like,
yeah,
that would hit so hard, man.
It would be good. I mean, we just need the Gunko Brook backstory, but when we get that, I mean, yeah, that'll be amazing. And as far as like Luffy goes, I really hope Imu beats the brakes off of him, dude. I just do not want Luffy to win this. Like, I mean, even going back to like Egghead, right? We didn't beat the Geoise. You could say that Luffy definitely pushed them back to where, they couldn't do anything, but we didn't beat them, right? It's as simple as that. If we see their boss here, even in a nerfed state, and Luffy puts hands on this person and beats him down harder than the Geoise, I don't know how I feel about that. And plus, like, it has been a reoccurring thing for One Piece where the main villain puts Luffy in his place for a little bit, and then Luffy gets stronger, and then he goes back and then he beats him. Like Crocodile's a great example.
Kaido,
a great example. Big Mom, we didn't lose to her. We just kind of ran away in the beginning.
Yeah, but he did try to like punch her once, and he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And then also in the Udon prison, he tried stopping her, and it did not work at all. So he's been like trounced by Big Mom, even if not defeated outright.
Oh, yeah, and then Caesar's another good one. Caesar beat Luffy as well by removing, like, the oxygen or something, and then Luffy just passed out. And then he came back, and then he used Haki, and then he beat Caesar. Like, it has been a thing for Luffy to lose in the past, and then, we build him up, and then he just comes back. There's, like, one more example that's just really biting at me. Doflamingo. He didn't lose to Doflamingo, but Doflamingo literally just kind of emoted on Luffy all the way until the very end with Bellamy at the Coliseum. Like, yeah, Doflamingo just kind of did his thing while Luffy couldn't really do much. Like, we always have to hold Luffy back until the final fight. So that is why I don't think Luffy's going to beat Imu here. And plus, you got to imagine, the Imu stocks would go down heavily if Luffy beats even a nerfed version of him. So I really don't see that happening here. At least I hope not. I hope not. So the best option would be, releasing Gunko from her entrapment. Which now leads me to another question, but let's say that things go well with Gunko-Imu. We separate the connection, all that stuff. Could you see the God Knights remaining, though? Most namely, Killingham and Sommers. Could you see them
Good question.
Still kidnapping the children successfully, or do you think they will fail?
I think if Gunko gets freed and Imu gets sent back, I think... Well, the thing we also got to remember is that once Luffy gets into the action, that probably means that Loki is also getting involved into the action because he would have been freed, because that's kind of the reason the flashback's happening right now, right? Like we talked about at the beginning. So I think Loki could actually like do enough damage to send the God's Knights back to where they're like, we got to go regroup. And that's kind of what I envision happening, is that like right now, like Zoro and Sanji and the rest of the Straw Hats, the Giants, everyone other than our top tiers, like, I mean, just Luffy and Loki mainly, and Scopper because he's obviously still healing up. But I'm thinking that they're going to hold everyone off just enough so that, this Gunko thing can happen. Loki will get in there, and then Summers and Killingham will be like, they'll probably have some like cool line about, I don't know, the the tables have turned, because it's like a board game thing, right? So like the tables have turned. We'll be back. We'll regroup or whatever. So I don't see them like getting defeated per se, but I do see them like recognizing defeat and leaving. And the reason that I think that's going to happen is because, for one thing, that would almost make what we've seen into like an Act 1 of Wano in a way. I don't know if Oda will actually break that down, but I feel like Elbaf has to be a really, really long arc. I don't know if it's going to be Wano length, which was like 149 chapters or something like that. But I think it has to be really long, and I find it really hard to believe that with the Gods Knights here and Imu here and the Domi Reversi stuff going on and all that, like, where are we going to be able to fit in, some extra lore drops, or like if you're Rouge or Enel or Big Mom or Shiki or Kid or all these characters that we expect to have some kind of role during this arc, like, how are they supposed to get involved if Imu is rampaging on the island, if we have the Domi Reversi stuff? Like, we won't have time to breathe, right? The only time we do have time to breathe are flashbacks, like right now, because we shouldn't really be sitting around otherwise. So I think they're going to get sent back and regroup. So that'll give us some time for all these other characters to enter the arc. We can talk about some lore. Maybe we can train a little bit so we can defeat the Gods Knights whenever they do come back. Maybe we can also go to the Heaven Realm. Like, there's all these things that we gotta do in Elbaf, and people that gotta show up, and we need like a breather for that. So I think that's all going to act as almost a training arc or a preparation arc, kind of like for the raid, how we trained for like 2 weeks before the raid started. And then I think we're basically just prepping for all the Gods Knights to come back. So then maybe at the very end of the arc, we will have like Shamrock return. Maybe all the Gods Knights will come back, kind of mirroring Egghead, where all the Gorosei ended up showing up. And then maybe we also get like the Yonko Wars here. Maybe Cross Guild shows up. Maybe Blackbeard pulls up. Maybe Shanks comes back. So then we get Shamrock and Shanks in the same place. That can be the reunion. Like, there's a lot of stuff that has to go down, and so we need a breather. So long-winded way of saying, I think the Gods Knights are going to get out of here once Imu gets kicked out of here.
Yeah, and plus, Gunko was the one who summoned them in the first place. So if we save Gunko, maybe she's like, hey, let me undo the Abyss Circle, and then they get sent back forcefully.
Great point. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, so sure. Maybe like Sombers and Killingham, like in a way we don't have to like disrespect them, we don't have to like beat them too heavily. Like maybe Zoro and Sanji figure out how to, beat these guys, or they finally learn how to hurt them. And then like before we have any true meaningful battles there, before Zoro and Sanji win, I would say, they get sent back, so we save that fight for a later date. I think that would be pretty cool.
For sure. Who do you think each of them would fight? Like if Zoro and Sanji do have like a long bout with Killingham and Summers, like who do you think would match up better?
I've always been on the boat that Sanji would be a great Summers opponent. Thorn guy, Sanji with his exoskeleton, the thorns wouldn't really matter too much. And then plus he would just burn them away. And then right now with Summers, the whole thing with Ripley going there to save her son, it's like, yeah, like if Ripley gets beaten by Summers, Sanji being the guy he is, he would show up like right away, and then that's how the fight could start. Like, hey, like I'm gonna save Scopper's wife. Don't hurt a lady with your thorns, brother. And then Zoro and Killingham, I think, just work pretty well.
Yeah, well, he's a dragon. So and Zoro, you think about the Ryuma thing, like Ryuma slayed a dragon. And also Killingham has like flaming hair. I don't know if it's like actually on fire, but that's kind of what it looks like. And you go back to King, like he just fought a guy with King's hair wasn't on fire, but he had the flame like on the back of his neck or whatever. So there is like that little bit of story there where Zoro, I guess. Also, whenever he beat King had like a dragon attack, right? Like the lava dragon thing. So dragons, like Zoro fighting dragons, just it already fits.
Nothing new.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
And another thing with Zoro too is I remember back, was it during Wano or was it during Wano or Egghead? But Zoro was like, what's with all these Zoans? Like I just keep on fighting Zoans, man. And killing him is just another Zoan. So I think it just kind of works out. Like Zoro's just going to always fight these mythical monster dinosaur people. Like, he'll never get like a regular normal person fight ever again until Mihawk.
And also, Zoro fought a special race last time, being the Lunarians, and it feels like Killingham is something. Fishman, part Fishman. I don't know what he is, but Maybe it's like a new special race of some kind that we don't know about.
Oh yeah, killing him because of his teeth, right? His teeth are like really odd.
He has like just sharp teeth. I think they're kind of like I want to say like Dellinger.
Yeah, very Dellingerish. That's why people said he was like a fishman, right? Like in the very beginning, those are like the main theories. Like, hey, killing him. We don't like know
for sure because you also think like Katakuri has really sharp teeth, and he's. I guess we don't know for sure, but I don't think he's a fishman. I would highly doubt because he's also a part of a triplets, and none of them show fishman traits. I would say, other than just that one set of sharp teeth.
And then we have Barto, who also has sharp teeth, and he's just the regular guy, to our knowledge.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think the sharp teeth are indicative that Killingham is a special race or a fishman. I gotta give kudos to the people who make theories about that though, because it's like, hey, like maybe he's the one fishman celestial dragon. He's biding his time and waiting to get revenge on his fellow brethren celestials because of how his people have been treated. Or ooh, maybe his dad just bought a mermaid and here's Killingham. And Killingham hates what they did to his mom. Like people came up with crazy I feel like our theories are pretty crazy too, to be fair. But this is like, an entire like fan fiction like story like, Killingham X, and it's like, dang, like people saw this one image and they went crazy, which I love Killingham, man. His design's great, so
same. One of the coolest
I'm down
designs.
For whatever. Yeah, coolest design for a God Knight. And he also had like a personality switch too, the minute he changed.
Yeah. And going back to the Fishman idea, I think like if he is part Fishman, then I think the story is just that he was like an orphaned Fishman child, and he just got, roped into this whole thing. Because that's how all of their, like, agents are, right? Like, some of the God's Knights are born, in, from other celestial dragons to do this, but they also get, like, orphans and stuff. We saw in the CP9 Independent Report cover story series that, like, they have this island where they train all the orphans on, and Lucci and the other CP9 agents even called that their homeland, when they definitely aren't from there originally, but they consider that training ground where all the Cypherpole orphans are trained at, they consider that their homeland. So it's like they don't even really know where they're from, or they don't even really care. They just care that, like, because all the other agents are like their friends. That's all they really think about. And so I think it could just be that Killingham, was an orphan of some kind and got sent there. So he doesn't even understand the fishmen issues, that like they're all slaves and stuff. He may just have no idea how that all works, which I think would be like a really important story to tell. Because that's another thing, going back to earlier, why like we need a breather between this emu stuff, is because Mother Carmel is a topic that has to get discussed in Elbaf. Like if that does not, I can't fathom a world where Oda does not touch on the Mother Carmel situation at all, because we're also past that point in the flashback already.
We are. We've already passed that.
So there has to be a separate flashback or something for us to learn about Mother Carmel. And the reason that's really important is like her kids became Cypherpole agents, or became maybe even God's Knights, became whatever. So I think the God's Knights also need to learn, like, wow, wait, this was a really sick operation. Maybe they know that and they don't care because they're so brainwashed, but I want them to just like be faced with the truth of, wow, this island had like a child trafficking operation going on with Mother Carmel, and we were victims of it. Wow. Like, and we're perpetuating that same thing by taking these Elbaf kids and kind of using them as like pawns in our game. So I don't know, that has to come up, and I feel like Killingham could be a good example of it if he is from a special race, just because he would be like so unaware of, how, like, what people like him have caused people from his race, basically.
It would be really funny if they really enjoy it, though. Maybe they're like, hey, like, these kids will thank us later.
I'm like so torn, because I can see that, but you also go back to Gunko, who like is getting her memories back, and I feel like if she is able to free herself from Emu, she's not going to be evil anymore. Like, she's going to be like, wow, I was brainwashed, I was hypnotized, I was this and that and the third. And so maybe it becomes a thing where we have to like get through to the God's Knights somehow. Like there's like a special emotional deep layer that we have to hit with each of them. But maybe like that's part of what Emu's plan is like, I'm picking these like random orphans that nobody has connections to, so nobody knows what their important things are.
So I never have to deal with this later. Yeah.
Because like for Gunko, like I was saying earlier, if Emu just kept Gunko in the Holy Land, this entire time and like waiting for everybody that knew her to die out so that then she can be a knight and nobody will, be able to reach her, but Brook can because he came back to life and like he's not supposed to be alive anymore. It's like that would be really important because it's like then maybe there's nobody for the rest of these Gods Knights that can reach him. And that might be where Luffy comes in because Luffy like really gets people. He's like he really understands people's personalities. So I don't know if maybe he can kind of be the key, but yeah, I do think like it's not going to be a thing where like they come to that conclusion on their own. Like I think they're aware of what the system is, but there's got to be something that gets to him. I don't know what it is though.
Yeah, what's funny too about the God Knights is that, with Gunko, she's obviously like what 80, 90-year-old plus at this point. Well, maybe not. She's maybe like 70 years old-ish if I had to guess.
Yeah. Mid-70s is like my estimation.
So with these other God Knights, we also don't know how old they are. For all we know, Summers could be old as time itself. He could be Augustus, back in the day. He could just a crazy nickname, different names, and then same with Killingham too. Like we don't know. Like what if they were there for the very first discrimination act?
Yeah.
Like Killingham's the one who's like, you know what? I hate my dirty fishman blood.
Well, because
send him down.
With the eternal youth surgery, like all of these, because I feel like Gunko has to have the surgery at this point because she should look way older than she does. So it's like she stopped aging at a certain point.
Yeah.
And now maybe there's other ways that could work. Like, if she's like technically a zombie, then maybe like they just killed her and then brought the corpse back and they're doing some shadow nonsense. So maybe like the body doesn't decompose now. I don't know what the situation is, but I feel like the eternal youth surgery is the easiest answer. And so maybe they all have it, and like maybe all the like that's a requirement to even being a God's Knight. Like whenever you get welcomed in, you get the surgery so that you're more useful. Like you can't die then. Because I brought this up in another video, but there's kind of two types of immortality, right? There's the regeneration kind where if somebody hurts you, you heal, but then there's also the no aging kind. You kind of need to heal yourself and to not age in order to be truly immortal. There's like both ways that can, kind of be done. And so we obviously know they all have the regeneration already, and so I feel like it would make sense for them to also be like have the eternal youth, because then they're just how are you going to kill them?
Yeah, and like you said, we don't know how that was done either. Like for all we know, that could be an emu power, just emus giving them like part of their life, or maybe emus just as long as they're around, like they can't die. Yeah, they very much feel like a Vegapunk, right? Like people back on Egghead, they're like, hey, like are the Gorosei just satellites for emu, which I think does look pretty plausible. I don't think they're like homunculi or anything like that, but I do think that they're all just connected to them.
Yeah, and you look at like Gunko's eye, which like is that just a natural heterochromatic eye just for a cool design, or is that because emu like is keeping an eye on her, like literally, like is emu able to see what Gunko's seeing, like able to just track what Gunko's doing? Like I would say probably. And, I don't know if that would go the same for every single God's Knight. Because, like, you look at Shamrock. Shamrock was born into the God's Knights because he was Garling's son. Yeah. So I don't know if he's going to have the same thing. But I definitely feel like Emu, like, I don't know if Emu's controlling them all like a puppeteer. But Emu's at least watching what they're doing, and, like, keeping, like, all the information they're learning and what they're doing. Emu's aware of all of it, I think.
Yeah. So that brings us to the next thing. Marie-Joie. That place is currently on fire. We initially suspected Dragon. Dragon was the top candidate for a while. Of course, even back then, people were saying it could be Blackbeard as well, or maybe even Shanks.
Yeah.
Now that we have the Rocks flashback, I do like the Blackbeard route a lot more, because we could get like a callback to the scene where he said, I'll be back. But where are you right now with that? Who do you think is in that capital?
I think this is one of the hardest things to answer because, for one thing, if the Elbaf time dilation idea is true, then my answer changes significantly. Because it's been we sailed for 2 days between Egghead and Elbaf, and then we've been here for like half a day, I think, right?
Yeah.
So basically, it's maybe been a week. If the 3 times thing is true, where like time moves 3 times faster elsewhere, then then it's been a week, and I feel like that really changes the options because more people can get around the world then, right? Like, if it was just a day or two, then I'm like, well, who would get back there in a day or two, all the way up there and cause these problems? Like, that list is a lot shorter. So I feel like what most people are pointing towards is there's one of two things, either Blackbeard or Dragon. I feel like that's kind of where everyone's settling. And I feel like Dragon makes a lot of sense because obviously they just attacked Marijois, and if it's been a week or longer because of the time dilation stuff, then maybe they've, like recouped enough. They've like re-planned whatever they're doing, and so they went back for another assault. Or it could be Blackbeard because if it's been a week, maybe he's had time to go get Pluton, or we just haven't seen it, or go get Poseidon, we just haven't seen it. And he's going there to try to take over, which kind of like you mentioned goes back to the "I'll be back" line from Rocks. Is Blackbeard? Is that why we're getting that line then? Because we're about to see that Rocks is back by Blackbeard going in there. So that means the next time we go over there, are we going to see Blackbeard in the flower room with Emu? I think that's the most likely thing, honestly, because the Revs just attacked, and so I like that idea that they would go back because it's just like the next phase of their plan. But it's also like they just attacked, so we're gonna repeat it. I'm not sure if Oda's gonna do that. But if Blackbeard goes in, then I like that. It could also be both too, right? It could be that the revolutionaries attacked, and then Blackbeard went in to go help them, and that's how he becomes a king. So I think those two are really the answer. I don't know who else it could even feasibly be, to be honest with you. Like, I mean, I could maybe come up with some answers, but of all the people who would be enough of a problem to make, like, where Shamrock has to go back and help, that list is kind of short. And, Blackbeard does have beef with Shanks, and if the government sends Shamrock after Blackbeard, right, to go fight him and stop him, that'd be, like, kind of a cool thing where now Blackbeard's fighting Shanks' brother instead of Shanks, so that might be kind of cool. Maybe he gives Shamrock the same scar. I think that'd be kind of funny. I doubt that actually happens, but that would be sort of cool. So I don't know. Dragon and Blackbeard in some combo where I'm at. What about you?
It would be interesting if Gunko-Emu was fighting Luffy, and then for a weird, like, brief moment, they stop, they pause, and they're like, huh, what was that? And then Emu, we see that they're actually fighting Blackbeard in the flower room or something like that. Like, Emu's fighting two people at the same time. That would be crazy. And the thing is that these are the two powers, maybe, that Rocks was talking about, right? The two devil fruits he needed, one being the Yama Yama, the other one being the Sun God Nika fruit. So we have these two fruits combating Emu, but because they're separated, they're not, like, working in full force. They're not, like, utilizing some weird combination attack. So it's not working, and Emu's like, oh, okay, thankfully they're not, like, in the same room together.
Well, now you got the cogs working in my head now here, Sai. Now I'm really thinking about some potential ideas here. So what if Blackbeard does pull up in the flower room, but that's the key to him, like, taking over Emu or something. Like whenever Blackbeard went, or whenever Rocks went, like, Emu was there, not split up. Like, there wasn't, Emu wasn't in a separate place, maybe in two places at once or whatever's going on. But maybe because Emu is split off and, over in Elbaph, maybe if there is, like Emu's normal body, because, like, obviously Emu's, like, body didn't come here. Emu just took over Gunko. So Emu's body might be left in the flower room, and maybe that's what happens is Blackbeard pulls up on that, and it's like, that's what Rocks was kind of waiting for. It's like Rocks needed Emu to separate in order to gain the advantage, and now Blackbeard's able to, like, win, or like maybe just even lock Emu up, quote unquote. Like, I don't know if he's gonna, like, absorb Emu into, like, the vortex, and then Emu, is stuck, and I don't know how that's all gonna work, but that would be such a cool idea that, like this moment is what Blackbeard's been waiting for the entire time, for, like, Emu to finally go out and, like, control something else, because maybe the idea is that, like, Emu's body that we normally see is being controlled by the same entity that's controlling Gunko right now, right? Like, whatever, I don't know if it's, like, some extra entity, because, like, Emu always speaks to themselves as Mu, like, in third person, so maybe Mu is what is now controlling Gunko, but Emu's body is left there, like, powerless. And so I think that would be actually awesome. it'd be a good way for Oda to explain the emu situation as well. Like to just jump right to like the weakness, and it's like, I finally got you. Like after, like I told you I'd be back, and then I don't know where it goes from there, but that would be so cool. I seriously love that idea. That might be the most likely thing.
100%, which I would say that would kind of look bad for Dragon if he's like not the next one to attack Marie Joie. Like, damn, dude, like you said you waited for the God Knights, man. The God Knights are moving. Dragon, where are you?
Maybe Dragon's coming to Elbaf.
Maybe. I mean, hey, we're saying that people might come here to Elbaf, so Dragon... funny enough, Dragon was a really popular candidate for Egghead for the longest time.
Yeah.
Did not come.
Because, like, going back to this Emu and Blackbeard thing, maybe Blackbeard goes to Marie Joie knowing that, you know, Emu is compromised, I guess we'll say. And then maybe Dragon does the opposite, where he knew that Emu was going to go to Elbaf. And he's like, all right, I'm going to go, like, keep the real Emu busy, like the powerful version. And maybe he even knows that Blackbeard is going to go to Marie Joie. Like, that's part of his plan, is like, I'll let him go do that because I don't want to take over just the Emu body. Like, maybe to Dragon, that's, like, not as useful to him. But he wants to go fight the actual Emu, which is Gunko, and, like, help out with that. It could also be a Luffy thing because they got to reunite at some point.
Yeah.
And saving Luffy from Emu would be, like... That would do a lot to help Dragon stocks, I feel like, so...
Dragon did say that, you know, his son is his weakness, so if Luffy's ever in danger, apparently Dragon will just throw everything down for him, so I think that'd be a good display. Which would be kind of crazy for the Ginny thing, right? Like, he wouldn't save Ginny, but he's like, but my son, though, wait a minute. I'm going all out, boys. That's my weakness. I gotta go.
Yeah, I mean, you know, another kind of connection maybe to Elbaf is that, like, he has, or I guess we don't know for sure, but the theory is that Dragon has the wind fruit. And wind is really the source of all kinds of weather, right? Like, even Nami's, like, cool balls and heat balls. Like, it's just different temperatures and pressures and speeds of wind that lead to a lot of different kinds of weather. So I wonder if that could be it, too, where, you know, he shows up because if this is the Uranus arc or whatever, or if Weatheria gets a role or whatever happens, it might make sense for him to be there for that reason, too. There could also be, like, a lore reason to it, like, if the Atom Tree has to fall down, or I don't know, something really important has to happen that like changes the world. Maybe Dragon's gonna be there to try to like help it because he knows that's really important. I'm not really sure, but I don't know. I'm ready to see Dragon, whatever it is, man.
Yeah, me
in
too.
any capacity at this point.
Any capacity at all, just not at Kamabaka Queendom, dude. He's been there for way too many chapters, man. We need him to move locations at least.
And actually, speaking of that, I'll see if I can find it. But there's actually a cool cover story thing I found out about that as well.
Oh,
about the revolutionaries. About like remember how Blackbeard like attacked Baltigo, and then the Revs had to move over to Kamabaka Kingdom. Well, in the cover story, and I'll try to find it and send it to you. But basically, they're a couple pages apart. But there's one page where we see Dragon, Sabo, and Koala reacting to the paper because of Luffy's new bounty post Dressrosa. The cover story series is like the 500 million man arc or whatever. And so basically they're still on Baltigo in the cover story, and they're just chilling. They're not fighting. There's nothing wrong. They're still hanging out there. And then 2 pages later, or 3 pages later, we see Ivankov on Kamabaka Queendom saying, making preparations. And so I'm like, wait a second. Why is Ivankov making preparations? It's like Ivankov's preparing for the Revs to come there. It's like Ivankov already knew that was happening. But we just saw Dragon on Baltigo still hanging out, so Blackbeard had not attacked yet. So Dragon probably knew before that happened that he was about to get attacked at Baltigo. Because how else would he know to go tell Ivankov to start making preparations?
That is true. The future side of Dragon, it goes like a full day. He can see future events.
Or something I was thinking of is it could be a hint to the idea that Kuzan is like a revolutionary spy, which I'm not a huge believer in. But in that same cover story series, I don't know if it was like before or after, we also see Kuzan on a certain island. They don't say what island it is, but he's on a certain island reading the paper. And so I'm like, did Kuzan maybe tell him like, hey, Blackbeard heard about your base, get out of there? Or is it a future sight thing with Dragon? Or is it just that Dragon, like, he didn't know Blackbeard was coming specifically, but did he just know, like, my base is gonna get found. We have to the time is coming, right? We're almost at the time of the dawn. We're almost at the time of the war. We're gonna have to move our base because we're gonna get found. Like he's been doing this a long time. I guess he knows you have to move your base every so often, you know. So is it just a timing thing where he knew this was bound to happen? I don't know. Personally, I don't think it's the Kuzan thing, although I think it is good evidence for people who believe in that. But I think it could just be, I think it's probably just a general planning thing. Like, it shows how smart Dragon is as like a revolutionary leader. Like, we can't let our place get ransacked because they'll take all the important information and learn our plans. We got to keep moving periodically so that, you know, our stuff isn't all in one place and they aren't all, you know, like one bad attack and we're cooked. Like, we got to keep moving. Like, they're nomadic in that way. So, I don't know. I thought that was really cool. And maybe going back to this Emu thing, Dragon is going to come to Elbaf as like again, playing off Blackbeard. If he knew Blackbeard was going to come to Baltigo, maybe he also knows Blackbeard's going to go to Marijois. So he's like, all right, if you're going to go there and cause trouble, I'll go over here and cause even more trouble.
Yeah, damn. Yeah, the Aokiji revolutionary spy route, like, it's not a bad one. I think there's reasons why I wouldn't want it more so than just him being a part of Sword or something as like independent from the Marines. But yeah, as far as like Kuzan being a spy for Dragon, I think what's cool about that is that if Dragon ever does come back into power, this could you know, put him over Akainu in a way. Like, Dragon and Akainu, they had this this spat a long time ago. We don't know what it's about. We don't know why Akainu's so hung up on Dragon. But we do know one thing about Dragon, though, and that's that when he was in the Marines, he said he did not see any justice there at all, which goes very opposing to all the admirals and how they all have their own sense of justice. Like, I feel like if Dragon were to have one of them, I'm not too sure what I would give him. But maybe Dragon shows the other admirals that his justice is the right one, and he starts that by collecting the admirals himself. Like, maybe Aokiji's the first defector, and then he'll later get Fujitora on his side, Ryokugyu on his side, Kizaru on his side, which I think Kizaru's the next to join.
I agree.
And then they all kind of confront Akainu saying, hey, brother, like, we know you're not bad. Like, you just have a twisted sense of justice, and we'll show you the right one. And that could be Dragon's role. Like, Dragon's the one guy that has found true justice.
What if that's his sense of justice? True justice? Does anybody have that?
I don't think so. So, yeah, true justice would be really cool. But, yeah, I can't see it.
That'd be cool because he's the revolutionary leader, where he's the one who's, like, he's recognized, like, if we're going to have justice, it's going to involve getting rid of these guys, right? The Celestial Dragons. Like, we have to change the system. And so it would be cool if he had, like, true justice or, like, real justice. I don't know, something like that. Because it's, like, he's not just pushing what his own sense of justice is. Like, because that's what a lot of the other kind of admirals do. Like, that's kind of like their story. Like, their sense of justice is sort of like their paradigm for how they make decisions on, like, what's good and bad. But if Dragon was like, I am just going to, like, bare bones, like, you know, this stuff is wrong, and I'm going to just take you guys down to fix it. And that is true justice, because without doing that, we're just making excuses, right? Like, for Kizaru, if you're letting the system exist, then your sense of justice is literally just an excuse, because it's not really justice for anybody else. So I actually really like that. And I agree that Kizaru is the next one to join. And then Fujitora would make a lot of sense. He'd be really easy to get. And Green Bull and I almost think Green Bull's harder than Akainu in a way, because Akainu already feels like he doesn't really like the Celestial Dragons and stuff that much. Remember how, like, I forget what the Gorosei said, but they talked down to him a little bit. So I can already see him not liking them. And so I almost feel like he's easier. But Green Bull, I don't know about him. I mean, if Akainu does, Green Bull will, because he loves Akainu. But
yeah,
I don't know how you're going to get through to that guy.
Yeah, maybe, well, to be fair, though, you know, like, I feel like the minute you have Kizaru and Aokiji on your side, Dragon's going to crumple, right? Because Dragon already sees Aokiji and Kizaru as his brothers. So the minute they both join Dragon, he's going to be like, wait a minute, what am I doing? Like, I lost everybody I got. So I could definitely see him turning by that point. And also, with that Gorosei scene you mentioned, not only did they talk down on Akainu, but Akainu talked down to them too.
Right.
Akainu, according to Sandman, the verbiage Akainu used against the Gorosei was very rude. Like, you would not use that against your boss. So Akainu already doesn't like them, and then even when he went up there to fight Kuma, he never talked once about the Celestial Dragons. Like, they were saying, Akainu, where's this? Akainu, what are you doing? And he just ignored
Where's my
all of them.
lobster?
Yeah, Akainu doesn't like these guys. I bet he knows that the system's flawed too. It's just that, that's just kind of the role he has. He can't really do too much about it.
Yeah. For me, man, I don't really like Akainu that much as a character in general. I mean, I get why people would, but just for me, I'm kind of whatever. But I do think of like all the Marines, he's probably the one I'm most excited to see the end for. Because like, am I excited to see the end for Kobe? Yes, but he's also already in Sword, which is like only half a Marine, I feel like, at this point.
Yeah.
And like Kobe has like the Luffy connection, so it's not even really fair to like rank him, I feel like. But Akainu, it's like, I don't know what Oda's gonna do. Like that, like he has the same issue as Dragon, where he's at his desk all the time, right? He's not actually doing anything, but we know that when he does, it's gonna just change the game. So he's probably the Marine I'm most excited for to see the end of. And yeah, I don't know. I think he's definitely gonna defect in some way. Like, I don't know if it's gonna be. I don't know how it's gonna. Like, I don't know if he wants to become the new leader of the world, or I don't know how this is all gonna, transpire. But he's gonna have a huge role soon too.
What's funny is that, like, the minute you remove the Celestial Dragons, like, Akainu doesn't even have to step down. I feel like he's not going to be the Fleet Admiral anymore. But really, if you take away the Celestials and the higher-ups, I mean, Akainu's a fine Fleet Admiral. Like, when people think about, like, the bad things the Marines have done, it really just ties back to the Celestials one way or another. So the minute you get rid of them, like, they're totally good.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, really rag on the Marines, like, for being bad and upholding the bad system. And trust me, I get it. But at the same time, a lot of the Marines do help people. Like, they are good, right? They join with good intentions and probably most of the time do good things. It's just sometimes the government, uses them for bad purposes, which there's all sorts of parallels to the real world with that kind of idea. So it's like they're definitely meant to be conflicting, but at the end of the day, they are like good in general. It's just, they follow orders when those orders are really bad. And so I like that Oda built that up, but I'm excited to see how Akainu acts, because if he acts without considering the Celestial Dragon's opinion, he might honestly do good things, right? Like beating pirates, I know we glorify them because we've seen the good ones with Luffy, and a lot of the other pirate crews that Luffy has befriended, but like, most pirates are awful that are on the seas, right? They are out there to go steal from people and hurt people, and like they're actually bad. So like, for the most part, the Marines do good work. So if Akainu was able to separate and be like, all right, I'm not taking the Celestial Dragon's opinion anymore. I'm just going to go take my men, and we're going to go do what I think is the right thing. I think he might surprise us with what he does.
Oh,
honestly.
yeah. Like, by the end of the story, I don't think there's going to be the Celestial Dragons anymore. But I think there definitely will still be the Marines, right? The Marines aren't going anywhere. By the end of One Piece, there's still going to be an established force. If we had a world of One Piece without Marines, God forbid you're a regular citizen, dude. You're going to get cooked. You are going to be effing destroyed. It's either that, or the pirates would eventually just take over and just have a territory and you have to pay them taxes anyways. Kind of like Big Mom's territories or Kaido's territories, right? Like, they would protect you, but it wasn't free, right? Like, nothing is free in that world, or even in our world, right? So, yeah, like, you need some sort of protection. The Marines, to our knowledge, they don't ask for anything. Like, they kind of just operate.
Well, they only help the countries that pay the Celestial Tribute.
Yeah, the WG ones. But they still, like, go out and fight pirates besides that, like, on the open seas.
Yeah, like out in the open seas. Yeah.
So that if you're a pirate, they will chase you and take you down, so... I think that's good enough. They kind of act on a lot of goodwill there.
Yeah, like I said, a lot of the pirates are just bad. I mean, we fight them all the time. Like, you look at Dressrosa. It's two pirates fighting each other, but one is awful, who also is an ex-Celestial Dragon, which, probably no coincidence. But then, but the other one's good, and it's like, most of the time, like, we want to take down the pirates. It's just there's a select few good ones we follow. So yeah, I'm ready for Akainu to do something, to take care of them.
It's funny, this is like the third video we've talked about, like, the Marines changing sides too. I think we had a video on your channel, like, when will the Marines do this? Like, Eventually, like I think they won't do it till like the very end though. Like definitely like during the final war, like the final like 10-20%, I think that's when they'll like actually switch. But until then, I think they will play the role of bad guys just so that, you know, the Celestial Dragons have somebody on their side to help fight out the fodder characters, right? Like when we hit that final war, like, dude, yeah, we're gonna need the Vice Admirals to come in and just fight a bunch of random pirates. Just stall them out. Like, oh, here's Katakuri versus Momonga. And then we just kind of like forget about them. Like, like here's Cavendish versus Bastille.
Red King.
Yeah, just pretty much just use the VAs to fill up all these random fights and just call it a day.
Yeah, which I'm like, I'm a little lukewarm on that because
same.
They're just there, you know? Like that's what a lot of the Vice Admirals do. They just exist. Like they have a name. Maybe Oda will give us a little bit of information on like where they're from, how old they are, whatever, but like most of them are just not that important. Like you look at like Doll, for example, we learned that, you know, she was trained under Saul and stuff. So like that's really cool, and I like that, and hopefully that gets built upon. But that's not the norm. You know, most of the Vice Admirals are just guys just existing.
Yeah,
so,
it's like we need characters like that too, because it's just like they fill up the background, they make the world feel more fleshed out. So it's totally cool, but you know, could we get more from them? Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, we're gonna get more from
Definitely.
Suru, Sengoku, and Garp, you know, than probably most other current Vice Admirals. I think Subaru, is she a Vice Admiral still? I think she is, but she's like also staff officer. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, she's like the great staff officer tactician lady thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like those three are going to get a lot more focus than probably most of the active Marines.
Oh, 100%. And speaking of Sengoku and Suru, this will be where we leave off on, but for them, where do you think they're going?
Got to be empty bluffs, right? I mean, because like that's what they were talking about. So, and for me, I've been saying for a long time that Garp should get sold to the Cross Guild. Like for Blackbeard, I think that makes the most sense because the government does not like Garp. So I don't know if he's going to be able to get the leverage that he thinks as far as, you know, let me be a king, I'll give you back your legendary hero. They might be like, we'll just keep him. We have been trying to get rid of him for years. So I don't know. And yes, that would be terrible PR, by the way. I'm aware of that. Like the government's definitely running a little risk there of like the Marines revolting or like the people revolting a little bit at, you know, them not helping Garp. But Garp's worth $3 billion. And I just think that's so much money for Blackbeard. We also saw with Rocks that part of his story was like collecting a lot of money because like they got the gold at Hachinosu. They also brokered a deal with the government to where they got paid to go clear out a lot of the pirates there, which seems like a terrible deal by the government, by the way. Like, why would you go make a deal with the strongest pirate of that era to go take over this pirate island with a bunch of other pirates? Like, how is that ever going to work out in your favor? You know?
Yeah.
Like, you're spending money, he's getting more money because of the gold that's there, and he's probably going to make all the other pirates, like, join his crew, basically. So I always thought that was bad, but yeah, so I think Blackbeard getting $3 billion makes the most sense because it fits into that. I don't know if he would use that to like buy more devil fruits or buy more like technology. I don't really know how all that's gonna work. Like more, I don't know if he can get more like pacifista or something, you know. But I think that makes the most sense. And then if Garp is gonna get sold to Cross Guild, then the most natural thing is to have Sengoku and Suru also tied to that because then it's all three of them, you know, are kind of coalescing at the same time. So,
and then we could finally get like a Mihawk and Crocodile fight finally, post time skip.
Yeah, well, I'm guessing that if Sengoku and Suru pull up, the Cross Guild's gonna leave because there's also the Seraphim there. So between fighting the Seraphim and, you know, these other top Marine guys, well, like they're old, but you know, kind of top tier. I think they're just gonna skedaddle. Maybe we'll find out that Buggy's new ship has like some kind of coup de burst type thing.
Oh, that would be
built into
crazy.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they just built it. Like literally, what, 50, 60 chapters ago?
It could be reminiscent of Buggy's Devil Fruit, where Buggy can fly around, but his feet stay on the ground. Like maybe Okay, no, this would be awful, actually. I was going to say, maybe they Kude burst, but somehow they're still tethered to the sea. It's like, no, they just slam down and die, actually. Maybe not. But yeah,
I mean,
I don't know what they do with that.
Yeah, using Buggy's power would be kind of cool, too. Like, if Buggy awakens, he could almost make his ship, like, impervious to, like, getting, like, cut. Like, remember how Mihawk cut, like, the ships in half whenever we first met him? And then Zoro also did that to start a Return to Sabaody. Like, I don't know who would be threatening to do that, but it's just like Buggy awakening and like making his ship be able to split up and be put back together. That could also help him escape somehow. I don't know how that would work in this situation, but
technically, I mean, Crocodile can make sand float. Could he like float the ship if he had sand nearby him?
Probably. I guess I don't know if he's like strong enough to pick up a ship. You know what I'm saying? Like with just sand. Like that's kind of the iffy part. I don't know. Well, the one thing though is remember, like they had a lot of money, so whenever they built that new ship, I wouldn't put it past them to put some big upgrades in it. Like maybe I don't know if Kude Burst exactly will be the answer because that's just copying the Sunny, but like they have enough money to contract some like good builders to make that thing. Like, and it seemed like it was just some of the like the low ranking Buggy fans among the Cross Guild, but regardless, like. They would have had the money to get some good parts, so I feel like there's going to be something special with it. I don't know how they're going to get out of there.
The attack power that ship would have, though, I think it would rival the Gao cannon from the Sunny, though. Just like, I know, like, Buggy's kind of a meme when it comes to this, but, like, you know, we have the Buggy Ball, the Muggy Ball. Like, by the time he shows his new ball, it's going to be like the Zuggy Ball or something, and it's going to be, like, stupid strong.
That's a cool point. I mean, it could be that, like... I don't know if they would, like, explode it, like, under the water and make it, like, make them fly. I don't know how they would do that, but using the Buggy Balls in some way, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's not bad. Well, with that being said, though, thank you, Dax, for joining me in today's video. Thanks for talking non-flashback related things. Like I said, I think it's fun, you know, just going back and, like, thinking about, like, what we have to look forward to in Elbaf, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, everything kind of gets lost on the wayside.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it at the beginning, but, like, we stopped in the midst of some of the craziest stuff we've ever seen to go get this flashback. So, like, I totally understand why people, you know, want to get back to it or at least want to talk about what's going to happen at the end of this. Because, I mean, like, it's funny that Emu pulled up and showed us their powers, and we saw all these giants get flipped, you know, into demonic versions of themselves. And then this flashback started, and it's like we kind of forgot, or like we're out of that moment. Like we're out of the hell of Elbaf right now. But once we end this flashback, we're getting right back into it. So I was excited to talk about this. This was a really good topic because there's plenty of discussions on the flashback to be had. But I'm excited to get back from it too. I mean, the flashback's great, you know, Oda, keep doing your thing. But whenever we do get back, I'm still going to be excited. So no, this was a great discussion, man. Thank you for inviting me, as always. I appreciate you.
Of course, brother. Yeah, dude, for me, like, the Zoro Sanji thing's gonna be the most fun thing. Like, I just want to see that team up again.
Yep, it's been too long. Like, I think Wano, you know, against King and Queen, we saw it, and then they also teamed up to save Otoko earlier in the arc, which was kind of cool. But I think that one with Otoko was, like, the first in, like, several hundred chapters because they were separated from Whole Cake Island, right? From Zoe, Dressrosa, Whole Cake. Like, they weren't together. So there was, like, a long time where we didn't get it. And we did get some, but I feel like it wasn't, like, a long, serious team-up, right? Like, whenever they saved Otoko, it was like a happenstance thing. And then even in the raid on Onigashima, like, they only teamed up for, like, a chapter or two. So I really, really want to see them actually work together. And, like, maybe they're almost, like, in dire straits. Like, hey, we can't get any actual damage on these guys. Like, what do we do? And they're, like, actually, you know, communicating and trying to figure it out. I think that'd be awesome.
It'd be like a throwback to Long Ring Longland, which
yes,
which was great, by the way. Like, because Zoro and Sanji, they got beat up a good amount. They almost lost, and then I think Zoro said, "Hey, Sanji, 10 seconds, let's work together." And then Sanji's like, "You know what, 10 seconds, I can do that with you." Yeah, dude, I'm looking forward to that. You know, maybe they show it as the Wings of the Pirate King, which hopefully I'm still banking on it. I still think Sanji's going to get that Conqueror's Haki. I don't think he'll master it here, maybe like after the fight. Same with Zoro. Zoro has conquers Haki already, but it's like you said, when we left off, we didn't really learn too much on how to hurt the God Knights. Scopper just said, hey, be mindful of how you use it, and that's pretty much it. So I could see a scenario where, like you said, we don't necessarily win here. We just get a taste of what they're like. And then come the next arc, we like master Conquers Haki and we're ready to...
Have I told you my theory on the Sanji Conquers Haki situation? Like what Scopper told him?
I think so. You want to go and drop it again?
Yeah, just because I mentioned this in my last stream, and I saw a lot of really positive comments about it, so I was like, maybe I should even do a video on this. I don't know. But I got the idea from Reddit. If you go back to that panel with Sanji and Scopper, like, Sanji's reaction is like a middle ground where... Like, if Scopper had said, yes, you do have Conqueror's Haki, then Sanji would be, like, over the moon excited, like, talking trash.
Yeah.
If Scopper said, no, you do not have it, then Sanji would be, like, sulking. He'd be, like, really upset about it. So, the fact that Sanji just had, like, a shocked reaction and then just got back to normal very quickly, that's a really weird middle ground to be in. And so, basically, what this Reddit post said is, I think that what Scopper said is, I don't detect any Haki on you whatsoever. Like, not just Conquerors, but I can't sense a single ounce of Haki from you. And so part of this could be that maybe it's the Germa thing, because maybe he's like part, robot, or like he's not really part robot, but you know what I mean? He's not like a normal human. And so maybe that's it, where like you can't detect it the same. But what I liked even more is just that Sanji naturally suppresses his Haki 24/7. So that nobody can, because he's a stealth guy, right? He also wants to be invisible. So part of being a stealth guy and being invisible is making it so nobody can detect you. So I think Sanji is just like pushing his Haki down so nobody can feel it. So that's why Scopper's like, dude, like I can't sense any on you. Like this is actually kind of weird. Like normally I can sense a little bit because everybody has the potential to have Haki. But he might be like, you have nothing. Like, I've never even heard this before. This is really weird. Like, I don't know what's going on with you, man. Because then, for one thing, that would be why Sanji's shocked. He's like, wait, I know I have Haki. How can you not detect? Like, even if I don't have Conquerors, that doesn't make sense. So that's why Sanji is then confused. Because it's like, well, if he can't detect any, then that doesn't necessarily mean I don't have Conquerors. It just means something weird's going on. And so I think that that's the story, is that he can have Conquerors and probably already does. It's just that nobody can feel it because it's the opposite of Zoro. They said Zoro, like the Conquerors is just oozing out of you. Like, how have you not known this? Like, we can all sense it. And then Sanji should be the exact opposite, right? And so maybe during this fight he will use it, and somebody will be like, maybe even the Geoise or the God's Knights, or it would be the God's Knights here, but they'll be like, wait, like how'd you do that? You don't even have Conquerors. And then that's where we learn like Sanji's just the master of stealth, where he can limit it without even knowing. Like, he can use it without anybody being able to sense it. And I just think that would be so unique for him, right?
Yeah.
And it could also go into the killer of observation Haki thing, that we learned that from Shanks, where he could, like, stop other people from using observation. So what if it's that Sanji is also doing that, because he also specializes in observation? So I think it would make sense that if he's going to have Conquerors, it should start by him using it with observation first. And so what if part of his Conqueror's Haki ability is suppressing it, because that's a hard thing to do, and so he's effectively canceling their observation Haki without him even knowing it. And I think that would just be, like I said, so unique. That's so Sanji-like. And I like, that's not something that I think Luffy would ever necessarily have to learn. That could be such a specific thing to Sanji, because I don't think Zoro will ever figure that out, because he can't even stop oozing it as it is. So yeah, that's pretty much that theory, which I'm a huge fan of.
I'm a huge fan of that theory too. It's like yin and yang, right? Like you said, like Zoro, overwhelming Haki, Sanji, it's overwhelming, but you just can't sense it. It's like, yeah, it's night and day. I like that a lot. No, that's a really good theory.
Shout out to the guy on Reddit. I gotta figure out who that was, because I don't even. For all I know, it could be like the biggest post on Reddit. Maybe everybody knows it. Maybe I was the only one who read it, and there's like no comments. I genuinely can't remember. I just remember like waking up one day, rolling over, opening Reddit, reading that, and then I was just like, oh, I'm locked in, that's it. And I have never found the post again, so I need to go figure that out.
Yeah, they deleted it. Oh, maybe it was you, like the night version of you. You know, you posted it in the middle of the night, and then you woke up, you're like, wait, what is this? Who wrote this?
My Hakuba.
Yeah, your Hakuba wrote that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually who does all my theories. Whenever I fall asleep, Dakuba wakes up,
Dakuba.
and then...
Dakuba's so cursed.
That should be my second channel name. I should change it from Redacted to Dakuba, and then I don't know. Actually, I could do that, but maybe I don't know. Maybe I had to do another channel. I'd have to cover some more like sinister topics. If I ever make like a horror story channel, like a murder mystery channel.
Yeah, top 5 One Piece theories that'll keep you awake at night.
Yeah.
One Piece theories that won't leave you alone. just something like scary like that.
Yeah, because there are a lot of those like theories to fall asleep to, and instead it can be like theories to have nightmares to, or something to that effect.
Yeah. Top 5 One Piece characters that could kill your family.
Dragon's not on the list because he's never involved. Dragon's not on there. I don't know. Kainu probably wouldn't be on there either.
Yeah. It would be like a random character like Gaimon.
Maybe his I don't know if they're married now, but his girlfriend Sarfunkel, maybe her, because she's sus. She just showed up in the cover story out of nowhere, just a girl in a barrel. So I don't know.
Oh yeah. Call it like the Bride of Gaimon, like the Bride of Frankenstein. Put a
there you go.
Yeah,
that'll be that'll be the next channel, guys. Make sure you subscribe whenever it's ready. I'm sure Sai will put the link down below.
Yeah, I'll make sure to link Dakuba. So to end things off, like for Sanji, for me, like mine was a lot more simple, where it's just like, yeah, whenever Sanji switches his eyebrows, he gets a lot more aggressive, right? I guess that's the best way to put it. And
serious,
serious,
yeah, aggressive, yeah.
And back on Egghead Island, whenever he was fighting the S-Shark Seraphim, I just remember he was like, yeah, like part of my kingly decree is to like never hurt a woman or something like that. And like, I'm sentencing you to death. He talked like a king, like a conqueror. Obviously that's like more in the literal sense, right? Because conquerors are a lot more nuanced in One Piece and what that really means. But for Sanji, he did talk like a king though. So I was like, maybe the reason why like he was shocked and then like was back to normal is because he learned like a pretty annoying truth. More like, yeah, he has Conqueror's Haki, but it only activates when he's in Jerma mode. And then, of course, that would be tied to his family, which would be like a very sour thing for him. So right. I think that could be it too, but I do like the route that she went with that one Dakuba theory about Sanji having invisible Haki. I like that a lot. Because like you said, like if that is the route we go with Sanji, then you're completely right. Like we don't have to give that to Luffy or Zoro or anybody else. Like that could just be a Sanji exclusive thing, which I think he needs, right? Yes. A lot of characters have their own things. Sanji, of course, has his own exoskeleton, but I think giving him another thing to catch him up would be really nice.
Yep, that's how I feel. And like, I feel like Zoro's always been like offense, and Sanji has been defense. That's like sort of what Oda has built up. Like Zoro has the sheer power output, but Sanji has like. Well, now he has the durability. I would say historically he didn't, like when he got his leg broken by Virgo and stuff. But now he's like the more durable of the two, I would argue. Well, some people are going to have some comments about that. But you know what I mean. He can break his body in half and it just fixes itself with the Germa stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And he's fast enough that he's invisible. So like he's always stealth, defense, that kind of thing. So I would love it. I'm ready for some Sanji hype. I feel like Zoro has so much hype baked into the story automatically by just being like one of their favorite characters. Like he rivals Luffy in the popularity polls, but then obviously he's gonna fight Mihawk eventually, which is gonna be hype, and he's gonna get a black blade. Like there's a lot of cool stuff that we know is gonna happen for Zoro, but Sanji is kind of like a mixed bag of like randomness. Like we don't know where this is going, so yeah. I'm ready for all unique Sanji things at this point.
I just thought of something random, but like, Zoro fighting Mihawk, right? Zoro's gonna need absurd strength for that, right? He's gonna have to have like mastery over his blade, his Haki, etc. But for Sanji, getting the all blue, he doesn't really need to do much except for just finding it or creating it, whichever one we need to do. Because people say that we have to break the red line, so he'd be creating it in that sense. But imagine if Sanji's observation Haki is so crazy that by the end of story, he takes his finger, he puts it in water, and then he immediately senses where all the fish are. Because, he wants the all blue for the fish. So it's like, what if his observation is that cracked where he's like, I can sense every fish in the ocean right now. Or every fish in the all blue.
I actually love that because do you remember? Well, Enel did something like that, right? With his like electricity or whatever, he could detect all the living things on the island and all that.
Yeah.
But the Gorosei also could do that. Whenever they were in Egghead, whenever they were trying to find the snails, they were like, just detect every single living thing on the island. Like we have to find it. Like they could all do that, and they also like spoke like telepathically, which was interesting. But they could also do that, and I would really like it if Sanji. And Elbaf would be a good place to do it because it's such a big island where he can almost do like a real like lady radar. Remember how he brought that up in Egghead as well? I have the anime clip that I've used in a few different videos, but he had like that lady radar thing, and like they made it really literal in the anime where like they put like a sonar thing under him.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be kind of cool if he actually was able to expand it to, I don't know if it can be the whole planet. Maybe at the end of the story it can be that big, but to where he can just feel like the cries of any woman across the whole planet, and then if he's fast enough, he can also get there to save them. So then he just becomes like
it's like Batman,
you know, like the ultimate, yeah, kind of like that. So I think that'd be kind of cool for him. Like, and I kind of like the idea you said with the water though, because like that acts as like a better medium for sound and stuff like that. So like if somebody was crying for help in the water, he might be able to detect that, like at least like the vibrations better, like echolocation kind of thing.
That'd be really
but either
sick.
way, I just want him to be able to I just want him to have the craziest observation Haki in the story, basically. Like, maybe not future sight, because that seems to be Luffy's angle with observation Haki, but this, like, suppression of Haki, this stealth stuff, this detecting people from far away. Because even in Wano, remember when, like, the one girl cried for help, who like, where Black Maria was, and Sanji went to go help her, and even... I forget if it was Jinbei or Luffy, but they were talking to each other, and they're like, wow, I got to work on my observation Haki. It's like, that's also something that Sanji excels at over everybody else. So, I don't know. Maybe on Elbaf, that's kind of the thing. Maybe he'll have to start detecting, you know, the cries for help over the entire island, and he kind of grows in that way. I don't know.
That'd be really cool. And yeah, as far as like future sight goes, I mean, I feel like he'll get pretty decent future sight, but like you said, I don't think he's gonna be like the best at it. But now that we're talking about like Sanji and his observation for Zoro and his armament, I think it'd be really cool. I don't know if they'll ever bring this into One Piece, but it would be awesome if you said you don't watch Bleach, but there's this one character who has an ability where they swing their sword and the length of the cut extends beyond the blade, if that makes sense. Like, let's say somebody swings their blade at you, you think you dodged it, because like the blade didn't touch you, but you still get cut because the blade is actually like 2 feet longer. Like imagine we have Haki like that, which I guess would kind of fall in the realm of like Ryuo and Conquers, because you know it's like a no touch clash. But imagine Zoro could cut like that too, which I mean you could argue he already does though with like wind slashes, but
that's what I was about to say.
Damn.
But it's we kind of saw Mihawk do that during Marineford as well,
cuts.
right?
Yeah.
So I think he's gonna have to master the same thing. It would be kind of cool if Zoro and Mihawk were like having a sword clash, but they weren't even close enough for the swords to touch, but just the Haki was hitting each other. You know what I mean? So they're like, I don't know, like a football field away from each other, just slashing over and over. But it's just I don't know. I think that'd be kind of cool because remember how Whitebeard said, like, he hyped up the clashes between Mihawk and Shanks. Like I remember watching you two go at it, whatever. I think it'd be cool for Zoro and Mihawk to have something similar where it's just like everybody's watching it. It's like a huge spectacle, and you know they're doing some crazy stuff where like nobody's ever seen it before. You know, because if it's, I'm sure like Oda's gonna make it really special, but I just hope from like the audience perspective, like the people who are watching that fight, like I don't want it to happen in an isolated place. I want this to be like a, you know, everybody's watching the duel to be the world's strongest swordsman, right? Like this is the championship round. Like I want that to be a big deal. Maybe even big news can be there. I don't know. I want it to just be a massive deal, whatever it is. Not just a, even though it would kind of fit Zoro to be like an alone thing where it's just those two like on an isolated place. It kind of fits him too. Like you look at Kuma with the nothing happened moment. Like nobody knows that happened other than Brook and maybe Sanji or whatever. But yeah, I want that to just be a big deal.
Yeah, that would be really sick. Like, they're doing something that nobody else understands, too. Like, imagine, like you said, they're a football field away from each other, and they're, like, swinging their swords, but, you know, like, for Conqueror's clashes, we see, like, the lightning. But for this, we don't see anything. They're just, like, swinging. They look really stupid. They're like, wait, what are they doing? And then maybe like Sanji's like, like you guys can't see it, but they are like the blows are coming out of this. Like they're hitting each other. Just y'all can't see it right now. Like there's no Haki here. Like it's all just cutting.
But then maybe the slashes do hit once, and so Sanji's like, just wait a second, because maybe he can start seeing the future too. And then all of a sudden, like the sky breaks, and they're like, wait, how'd that happen? He's like, well, some of their slashes hit or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like you can't see it, but I can see all these slashes going each way, and they're barely dodging them, kind of thing. Like that'd be sweet. Yeah, because that's like it's just like something where only like the top tiers understand how big of a deal this is. It's like, wow, I've never seen swordsmanship like this since Shanks. I don't know what else they'd say. But
what's funny is that I always mention this, but I always wonder if there's ever gonna be like a Twilight moment in One Piece where I don't know if you like watch the final movie of Twilight, like Breaking Dawn Part 2.
Not the final one. I saw like the first two, I think.
So they do this scene in the final movie where there's like an all-out war, and we see characters go down and die, yada yada. And then the twist is that none of it actually happened. It was all like future sighted. And then they go back to reality and they're like, oh yeah, so that's how it would turn out, huh? Too many casualties. Let's just call it a draw. Like, imagine we get that for Zoro and Mihawk, like, where we don't see the fight at all. Like, literally, Zoro walks up to Mihawk, and then Mihawk's like, I lost, and then that's it. You know how anticlimactic that would be? Like, we don't see any fight, no nothing. We literally see them walk up, and he's like, my future sight tells me that you'd win this, Zoro. Wow. Here's the title, and then they just leave. That'd be great.
Dude. I mean, the only way that would work is that if then Oda would show us like the fight in like a flash forward, I guess. I don't even know what you would. It's not really a flashback, in an SBS. Whatever you would call that. Yeah, like only we see it, like just those two and us see it, and everyone else is like, what's going on? And then Mihawk just like falls over. It's like
Mihawk falls to his knees. Oh, Zoro, the world's strongest.
That'd be wild.
No, that'd be awful.
The only thing, though, as much as that, I love that, it's hilarious. Like, Zoro, I feel like Zoro's observation Haki is ass. So, like, I don't know if he's ever even going to be able to, like, only Mihawk would be able to see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, that'd be kind of a problem, because then Zoro would be like, wait, what? No, like, we got to fight. I'm not going to let you get away with it. So, they'd have to, but, I mean, I feel like that's another interesting idea, though, is, like, how is Zoro going to improve his observation Haki towards the end? Because I feel like he kind of has to, especially when he fights Shiryu, because that's like an invisible guy. So if your observation Haki's not on point, like, you're kind of cooked. Because, like, does he have it? Yes. Does he ever use it? I'm not confident we can say yes. Also, Zoro can't find his way to anywhere, even when he can see and he's told what the directions are and all that kind of stuff. He still goes the wrong way. So it's like, if he has a hard time finding the places he's trying to go to whenever he can see, he's not going to be able to find things that he can't see. So, I don't know. I think that's an important thing for the end of the story, is that how Zoro's going to improve in that way.
Dude, this could go back to what we said earlier, man. Like, Zoro and Sanji, egging each other on. Like, imagine if, obviously Zoro swallowed his pride to train under Mihawk, and then Mihawk recognized that, saying, oh, like, you're willing to go that far, huh? Like, imagine if Zoro did that for Sanji. Like, people aren't gonna like it, but imagine Zoro's like, hey, Sanji, you're good at this observation thing. How is it done? And then maybe Sanji, obviously it's got to be equal, right? Maybe Sanji's the same way, saying, hey, Zoro, you have leaky Conqueror's Haki, but you have Conqueror's Haki, and you kind of know what you're doing. Like, can you just show me a little bit how it's done? Like, I think it could be mutually beneficial if both characters just swallowed their pride for a day and said, hey, like, these God Knights, they're no joke. Luffy wants to be Pirate King. We gotta lock in for a little bit. Like, let's just, maybe they don't like try to train under each other, but maybe they just fight each other a little bit to get the gist of how it's done. I could definitely see that happening, which I think, that'd be good for the fan base, right? Like, give and take. Because there's always wars, like, oh, Zoro versus Sanji, yada yada, but it's like, no, like, obviously, I think Zoro is stronger, but they're like right there together. They both specialize in different things. So I think it would be cool if they came together and just showed like how their different fighting styles, can fill in the gaps for their training, which would be good. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Like they each have their own lane, and I think it would be great if Oda highlighted that by talking about this observation and armament difference. It could even be like while they're fighting, like it's not like a full training arc per se, but it could just be like maybe Zoro gets hit by an attack, but Sanji dodges it, and Sanji's like, dude, you couldn't see that. And then maybe they both go for an attack, and only Zoro does damage, and he's like, dude, like, you don't have enough output to hurt this guy. And so like they're both kind of arguing, like making fun of each other for different things, where Zoro's getting hit, but only the one doing the hits, and Sanji's dodging, but not doing enough damage. And that would be kind of cool to where Sanji can be like, well, dude, you gotta like sense their emotion or whatever, like some quick quips on how to like get better at observation Haki. It's like, you gotta sense his intention, dude. All you're thinking about is hurting him. And then on the other side, Zoro might be like, hey, you're too worried about, you know, making sure that you're avoiding the next thing. You got to put everything into that attack whenever you do it. I don't know how, whatever they say, I don't know how it would go down, but I think that'd be really cool just to, like I said, highlight their difference. So Oda's making it very clear, like, hey, these two are equal, but just in different ways, right? Where like one is better at this, like Zoro has more power output, but Sanji has way more like utility, and it's like now they're teaching each other to improve, you know? I would love that, honestly. I don't know how the fandom would feel, but I'd be all over that if they tag teamed, and like it makes the most sense if they do it in a begrudging way where they're making fun of each other, like, you know, oh, how did you not sense his intention there? He was obviously going to go for a slash from the right side. It's like, I don't know, that'd be a good way to egg each other on to improve. So I'm all for it.
Yeah. You get stronger by clashing your blades against one another, which I forgot what anime that's from, but I feel like that's also a common thing. But what's funny is that we said goodbye like 20 minutes ago. I just realized that.
Yep. Now we're almost at 2 hours of recording time. I've been watching the clock.
Yeah. We're going to go ahead and call it here. Thank you guys so much for stopping by, watching this video to the end. Of course, Dax Sake will be linked down below, as well as Redacted, where I'm a guest at as well. So make sure to check him out there. You know, stay tuned. In a couple of months, you'll see Dakuba pop up. I'm sure he'll keep you guys scared and awake. And yeah, we'll catch you guys next time. Peace out, y'all.
Thanks for watching.